Yo, what is up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about leading while hurting. Man, let me know in the chat if you've ever been in a season where you had a lot of leadership responsibility. You had teams to move forward, you had projects to advance, you had, personal things going on in your life and man, there was this sense of hurt, of new relationships coming in and out, of people who maybe you're trying to lead who are giving you a hard time. Let me know, type the word me in the chat if you've ever been in a season where you had to lead while you bleed. Type in the chat me if that's you. Okay. I want to say hello to some people I see joining. I see you, Fab. I see you, Rolando. I see you, Pastor Sheena. Thanks for joining, talking about leading while healing on our daily with daily development with Daryl. I believe that development should happen every day, not in a day. Meaning, too many times we have New Year's resolution moments where we come up with some ideas, we commit to a new version of ourselves or a new goal, and we have this spree, this spurt, this short-term burst of consistency, but we don't actually keep up with that consistency because we think that because I made a decision one day that somehow my life is going to change. And your life can change, but decisions are not moments. They are a energy to be held. So you can decide in a moment, but you have to hold the energy, the congruency of that decision for the lifetime that you want it to exist in your life. It's one thing to decide that I'm going to lose weight. It's another to hold that energy consistently until the weight falls off. Can I get an amen, somebody? What's up, Raquel? Oh, my homegirl. I love her. Y'all follow her. All right. So leading while hurting. Leading while hurting. I'm going to give you three things, okay, that you can do if you're leading while hurting. Okay. Three things you can do if you're leading while hurting. If you're watching this replay, hashtag replay. Let me know your most pressing questions about speaking, about leadership, about making an impact in this world. I believe that everyone has a story to share and that we are in a season where God is elevating leaders who have voices, who have wisdom, and they're bold enough, courageous enough to speak their truth on stage, regardless of a hypersensitive culture, regardless of people that want to cancel you, regardless of people that may get offended. And I'm not talking about being rude or being insensitive. I'm talking about being bold and being courageous. Okay. So here's three keys. Key number one, feel your feelings. Feel your feelings. Man, so many times when we're going through stuff as leaders, we try to wear the hero's cape and walk around like we don't have a kink in our armor. And we believe sometimes subconsciously that if people find out about the areas of our life where we're struggling, that they'll think less of us, that they'll somehow won't respect our leadership as much, that, now we'll be embarrassed and have to face whatever we have to face, et cetera, et cetera. This is a mindset that is toxic to have in leadership because it creates a need to be perfect for the leader while allowing everyone else to be human. I used to tell leaders all the time, man, you would never say the things that you say to yourself to other people. When other people are going through, you're like, it's good, be vulnerable, it's okay, have rest, feel your feelings, do your thing. When you go through it, it's like, I'm not supposed to feel this way. I'm not supposed to feel this way. I'm not supposed to feel this way. I feel bad for feeling this way. I should feel different sooner. I feel different sooner. And we don't hold the same space or give the same grace for ourselves as we do for others. And that's one of the quickest ways to be depleted as a leader. And so, step number one, while you're leading while hurting, is to feel your feelings. Allow yourself to be with the frustration, with the hurt, with the discouragement, with the, oh man, the detox of emotion that has to happen for you to step into the next version of who you are. Now, y'all know me. I always try to tell stories of my personal life because I'm a practitioner of that which I preach. At least I try to be. I'm not perfect, but hopefully I'm progressing. And so, man, I've been going through a major level up in my life and in my business. I've been client calling in this this different type of clientele. I've been transitioning out of old ways that I served people in the past, and some of that has caused this separation of people who I thought I'd be coaching for 5, 10 years. And I'm sure I will be in some capacity, but not in the intimacy in which I've been doing it this past year. There's been people in my friendship circle, if you call it that, or my colleagues circle that are going through some things with, an old mentor that we all had, and it's causing this like level of pain relationally of the relationships we all built and who we had with them. I'm trying not to get into too much detail because someone might be watching the stream. But the point is, y'all, it's pain that we have to move through, and of course, I got family challenges and things like that. That I won't air online, but I'll tell you this: it hurts. There's been days where I felt like, man, I don't even have the emotional bandwidth to lead today. Man, I've my wife and I both have tripled our counseling output. Like my wife's doing weekly sessions with her counselor. I'm doing almost weekly sessions with my counselor. We're doing just about weekly sessions, if not twice a week, here and there, with our marriage counselor, just to hold that space for ourselves to feel our emotions and not feel the need to fix, to correct, to have the answer, to have the solution, but literally just to feel. Man, there's so much conditioning in our society, especially if you had parents who were like emotionally disconnected, right? They might have been physically present but emotionally absent, and they created a paradigm where every time you had feelings, it was inconvenient, it was irritating. I even have to catch myself sometimes with my own children when they're like crying or whining about something, and then I'm like, man, stop crying about that, stop whining about that. I have to be careful because I don't want to create an environment where they are not allowed to feel their feels. What's up, Isaac? Where they are not allowed to feel what their feels. Let me know. Type me too in the chat if you've ever struggled with feeling your feelings or allowing other people, especially children, to feel theirs. And so I think step one is just allow yourself to feel without the need to fix. Give yourself the space to process, to be in the emotion without feeling like you're wrong, you're guilty, it's low vibration or frequency. It's not if you hold space for yourself. It's not if you're not wallowing in it, but you're actually just allowing yourself to be human in the feel. It's actually healthy. It's what helps it, the emotion, not to get suppressed and repressed in your cellular memory, but to actually come up, out, and through, as we like to say in this word. So step number one is to feel your feelings and be okay with doing that. Okay. Number two, leading while hurting. Let your highest self lead. Let your highest self lead. And again, I can replace highest self with the word God. I believe God and I are one. Okay. And so let your highest self lead. Let your highest self lead. Um, I want to share with you a resource that has been helpful for me in terms of leading myself. It's a book by Jill Bolte Taylor called Whole Brain Living. And I actually want to let me see if I can share my screen here, do something a little different today, because I want you to read kind of the description of this book because I think it's so important. So let's see if I can do that. All right, here we go. So here you should be able to see on the screen this Whole Brain Living book. Let me read this description for you. For half a century, we have been trained to believe that our right brain hemisphere is our emotional brain, while our left brain houses our rational thinking. Now, neuroscience shows that it's not that simple. In fact, our emotional limbic tissue is evenly divided between our two hemispheres. Consequently, each hemisphere has both an emotional brain and a thinking brain. In this groundbreaking new book, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor presents these four distinct modules of cells as four characters that make up who we are. Character one, left thinking; two, left emotion; three, right emotion; four, right thinking. Everything we think, feel, or do is dependent upon brain cells to perform that function. Since each of the four characters stems from specific groups of cells that feel unique inside of our body, they can each display particular skills, feel specific emotions, or think distinctive thoughts. In this book, she shows us how to get acquainted with those characters, observe them in our daily life so that we can learn and identify and relate to them and others as well. Okay. And lots more. So I wanted you to see that because essentially, we lived in like, oh, I'm a creative thinker, I'm a logical thinker, and that's kind of the paradigm what a lot of people live in. And again, we're talking about leading while hurting and the importance of allowing your highest self to lead. And so I wanted to give you that resource, A, for material for you to dive into, and then B, so I can frame kind of where some of the thoughts and the thinking or the paradigm came from of what I'm sharing with you next. So here's kind of the four people I feel I have to lead inside of myself. Okay. So I like when people take a piece of paper and they draw four quadrants and they kind of identify these four personalities for themselves. And again, if you've got two, three, if you got six, like whatever helps you to lead yourself is I'm not trying, again, her stuff is backed by research, but I'm not trying to force that paradigm on everybody. I think there's some value to be gained from understanding that there's kind of like these multiple versions of ourselves or these inner children or, these different avatars inside of ourselves that we have to self lead effectively, or else they will subconsciously sabotage us from the results that we say we want in life. So here's the four people that live inside these stints. Okay. Um, Number one on this quadrant is D-Stents. This is my highest self. Okay. This is the guy that's probably talking right now. This is the guy that leads, this guy that makes the right decisions. This is the guy that's always in love and light and courage. He knows no fear. It is him in his full awareness and connection to God. Okay. It is Christ inside of me. It is these things. Okay. The other character is who I call Daryl. This is like the perfectionist side of me. He's the person who thinks he has to like get all his points correctly and say hi to every person and make sure they put comments in the chat. And he's the guy that's like running the LinkedIn profile. And he's the one who does like our old versions of our talks where we wore a tie and a suit jacket because we thought we had to fit in. He's constantly stressed out. He's constantly anxious. He's constantly worried. But he is also the most organized person in the whole entire bunch. Okay, so there's Decent's highest self, there's Daryl, the perfectionist, there's Little D, the inner child. Man, Little D he writes all of our books primarily. He does the majority of our speeches where there's emotion. He's always looking to express his emotion and his feelings. But the other side of Little D is he will shut the whole system down. When Little D doesn't feel like showing up or performing, when Little D is feeling all the feels, he will make sure that no work gets done. He will walk on the beach for 10 hours. He don't want to work. He just want to cry and be a child and be taken care of, right? Um, and that version of myself tends, especially when I'm hurting in leadership, tends to kind of run the show sometimes if I'm not careful. Like he tends to be like, nope, you're hurting, feel all the feels. We don't want to do anything. It's like a child that's just crying and stealing the show. Like Little D, there's a part of myself that if I'm not careful, I'll allow that inner child to call the shots and dictate how I show up and dictate the energy that I bring. In fact, one of the reasons why I haven't been doing some of these live streams consistently over the past week or two is because Little D's like, no, I'm in my own thing. I don't want to show up and act like I got it more together than I'm not. Like Little D's just taking up too much bandwidth. Again, I want to remind you, he does the most vulnerable parts of our speech. He writes the most amazing content in our books. He's bright, he's brilliant, he's show-stopping, he's lovable. He's the inner child. I almost want to bring up my baby picture. You can just see him. He's him. Okay. So we got Decent's highest self. We got Daryl, that's the perfectionist. We got Little D, that is the inner child. And then we got Goon. Goon is like the street version of myself. This is the guy that was raised in Jackson. This is the person who don't have emotion. He's the guy that cheated on women. He's the guy that like didn't care if he got in fights. He's the guy that skipped school. He's the guy that didn't apply himself. He's the guy that smoked weed all day. He's the guy that drank alcohol. He's the guy that sold pills. He's the guy that just is a street kingpin and don't give a F about anybody or anything and how they feel. Okay, that's his dark side. Now, the good thing about Goon is he's bold. He's courageous. He's the person that the moment where I say something bold in a speech, he's probably the one who's saying it. He does all of our sales because he's not scared and he's not worried about money. and we use him in that way. Okay. So D Stents, we got Daryl, the perfectionist, we got Little D, the inner child, and then we got Goon, the street kingpin. I'm curious. I'm curious if you're watching this. What's your four? How do you classify them? How do you label them? I see you, Ariel. I see you, JJ. I see you, Dr. Matissa. I see you, Life Options. I see you, Yo Shizzle. What's up, man? See you. Okay, let me know what's your four characteristics. And if you need some time, just come back, comment on this stream. That's what I love about having content that lives out there. I can still engage with you once I hit end. Okay, so I'd love to see some of that for you. So I'm gonna move forward just so we're not like awkwardly waiting. Um, but again, let me recap. So we're talking about leading while hurting. Tip number one was to feel your feels. Stop trying to fix everything and just allow yourself to feel everything. Um, Two, let your highest self lead. Let your highest self lead. Um, Man, it is so dangerous to be in a season while you're leading while healing and your perfectionist is running the show. Your inner child is running the show, or your dark Avenger side is running the show. Highest self always needs to be in the driver's seat as much as possible. God, if you will, needs to be in the driver's seat as much as possible. The reason being is because these people have strong feelings, but they don't have full enlightenment. Feelings are important, skills, gifts are important, but enlightenment is how we progress our lives forward. And so, for me, it's been a ongoing practice, not perfect at it at all, y'all. I just told y'all, like, just look at my consistent streams. I've allowed Little D to just shut down the show too much. So now I had to like wake up this morning and go, hey man, I know you got feelings, you got emotions, you got a counseling session, you had some space, you journaled, you dropped some tears, and like now, hey, come on, wake up, wake up. Come on, Goon, we need to do a stream. Daryl, we need to do a stream. Lil D, we need to do a stream. We're doing a stream today because of what the world needs. There's too much pain going on. There's too much divisiveness in this political season. There's too much like division going on that we need leaders and communicators who can pull people together in unity and strength and in wisdom. That's what we need in this world, and that's who you are. If you're watching this stream, that's what makes you want to stop and pay attention to me, because that part of you resonates and is like, yes, I know I'm supposed to be a teacher. I know I'm supposed to be a leader. I know I'm supposed to set a standard. I know I'm supposed to be a unifier. And this is helping to feed that part of myself that does that more effectively, more readily, more willingly. Did you catch that word? Willingly. Remember, Dr. Beckwith says, where there is willingness, there's a way. Okay, so number one, feel all your feelings. Feel your feels. Number two, lead. Let your highest self lead. And then number three, remember, you are not alone. Y'all, you know how many times I've heard that quote? You are not alone. You are not alone. You know how many times I've said it? You are not alone. You are not alone. You know how many times that I'm going through something and I feel alone? All the time. All the time. But I know that I'm not. I know that I'm not. But when I'm in it, I feel like I'm the only one who's in it. I feel like nobody can help me. Nobody can relate. Nobody knows exactly what I'm going through. This is so much pain. It's too complicated. It's too much. It's like nobody can fix it. And I just get in this like, this apathy, this helplessness vibe sometimes, y'all. All because I forget I'm not alone. So one of the most powerful things you can do is not just to remind yourself that you're not alone. I should have changed it to reach out for help. Like reach out to express that you are leading while hurting. I'll end with this story. Man, last night I was sitting in deep, feeling the feels. One of the beauties of feeling the feels is that you can actually get clear on all the things that are causing you this emotional distress. Sometimes we tend to think it's only like the things that we have the most focus on. We think it's the political season. We think it's the relationship. We think it's the wife. We think it's the children, right? Whatever we have the most frustration about, the coaching program or whatever. We think that that's it. But if we feel all of our feels, it's similar to looking at all of our financial budget. We start to see expenses in our finances that we didn't know that was there because we looked at the bank statements and the transactions. When you look at the emotional transactions, when you look at the emotions that you've gone through over the past 2 weeks, 30 days, part of what happens, you start to see more of what you've been experiencing, and it takes some of the pressure off the things that have been causing you the most challenge. And it starts to open it like, oh man, it's not just this one or two, three things. It's actually this and this and this and a little bit of that and a lot of bit of this. Oh, and actually, I forgot about that because I pushed that way down, but that's really been bothering me. That's weighing on my heart. I just haven't gave myself time to allow it to. And so I was in that practice last night, feeling all my feels, being in my emotions, and it hit me. It wrecked me. Everybody talks about change. Everybody talks about transformation. Everybody talks about becoming the next highest version of yourself. But not enough people talk about the pain that comes from the old version of you that has to die. I once heard it said, I don't know who said it, that our old paradigm always screams the loudest when it's on its way out. I'm going to say that again. Our old paradigm always screams the loudest when it's on its way out. And so sometimes the reason why we're so heavy, the reason why it's so hard, the reason why life seems like it's falling apart is because our old way of being, our old life that we created from our old way of being is on its way out. And the new relationships, the new us is emerging. Can you feel that? Type me in the chat. Can you feel that? I can feel it. Can you feel that? Can you feel the new you that's emerging? Can you feel the new leader, the new creator, the new writer, the new speaker? Can you feel that version of yourself that emerging? Can you see you showing up with new levels of expression, with new confidence? Can you see a new level of financial security? That new version of yourself oftentimes brings about a death of the old version of yourself. So, in the middle of me being in the heat of these emotions, wrestling with all of these things, looking at the full gamut of everything that was bothering me, and I got overwhelmed with it. And I asked for help, or I reached out and I expressed. I want to read this to you. Okay, this is going to be a little paraphrase just because it's not going to make sense. Because you know how you have friends that you like have like lingo with, like you and the friend know what y'all talking about, but other people like what? So I'm just going to paraphrase so you don't get confused by me and my friend's text message. But I reached out. This was at 6:47. I said, "Man, I'm hurting." He said, "How can I best support?" That's a good friend. Let me pause and say, prior to sending that message, there was so much going on through my head about like the fact that I didn't want to inconvenience somebody or complain. And ultimately I knew that I would wake up and feel better or feel better later. And so I'm like, there's no need in like dumping on anybody. So I had all these reasons why I shouldn't reach out to somebody. And I just knew enough to be like, I know that's not healthy. Let me just reach out. I'm human too. Even if I get over it an hour from now, it's still good to express. Okay. So I'm gonna change number three. Instead of it being remember you're not alone, I'm gonna change number three to be like express how you feel to a friend. There we go. Express how you feel to a friend. Let me write that down because I'll forget. My ADHD. Express how you feel to a friend. So we got feeling your feelings. Number one, let your highest self lead. Number two, and express how you're feeling to a friend. Okay. And so here I am, man, I'm hurting. He says, how can I best support? I said, I don't know where to start. I've got all the feels. It's too overwhelming. Everything in my life needs a level up. Everything. My game has to go to a whole new level, but I don't feel like I can access the resource to commit and be consistent. You guys want to know what my friend said? Somebody type me in the chat. If somebody types me in the chat, I'll let you know what he said. Type me in the chat. I see your Pop said, happy Happy me, sad me, caring for others, dominate, get things done. Yep. Yep. Sean said, man, I need to hear that for real. We spoke on it in group last night. That's what's up. That's what's up, Sean. My guy Isaac with the star. Good to see you, bro. Love you, man. Instagram, I see you too. Instagram, I see you too. Okay, I'm waiting for me. I'm waiting for me. Type me in the chat if you want to hear how the friend responded. Perfect. Okay, I see one. I see two. Here we go. Um, man, I feel so misaligned. Or excuse me, man, I'm hurting. How can I best support? I don't know where to start. All the feels too overwhelming. Everything needs a level up. Everything. My game has to go to a new level, but I can't access the resource to commit and be consistent. You know what he said? I feel that. Old D, meaning old Daryl, has got to die, huh? Let me know if you want to chat. So number one, homie, if you're reading this, man, thank you. I really needed that last night. And I did try to call, he didn't answer, and then we tried to talk later. It was too late. I was already with my family. But just the fact that I expressed it to a friend made sure that I didn't suppress it in my cells. Okay. Whatever you don't express, you suppress. All right. That doesn't mean everything needs an hour counseling session, every emotion, but it does mean those things that are heavy on us, that we cannot become so busy that we don't hold space to allow ourselves to feel. So if you're leading while hurting, I want you to remember, feel all your feels, let your highest self lead, and express how you feel to a friend. For those of you who are called to speak and you want to take your game to the next level, you want to grow your business through speaking, even if you don't want to be a circuit speaker, but you know that you have a message to share, a gift to offer the world. Maybe it needs some refinement. Maybe it's time for you to charge higher prices. Maybe it's time for you to go from 100K to 200K, from 200K to half a mil, from a mil to a mil, or wherever you're at on that spectrum. Reach out to your boy. We're hosting a transformational event for speakers on November 16th in Franklin, Tennessee at the Chamber of Commerce. So if you want to be a part of that, there's no door price to get in. We do like a little love offering that's no pressure at the end, but it's a time for you to clarify your message, to work on you as a vessel and a communicator so that you can be more open to more fully and powerfully and effectively express your God-given message so that your impact, your movement continues to spread. So if you want information about that event, type event in the chat. We'll make sure we send you registration info. If you're looking to be have a coach in your corner who can help you to grow your business with speaking, type coach in the chat. Happy to start a conversation to see if it makes sense. For the rest of us who are leading while hurting, remember, feel your feelings. Let your highest self lead and express how you feel to a friend. Thank you. I love y'all. Peace.